Let me tell you.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Sports Now. There's Ada. I'm Darius Thomas, and that's Ada Munson. And thank you for joining us on this brand new edition of Sports Now. There's Ada. If you haven't already, make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe down below. Make sure to comment as well. And make sure to hit that bell for post notifications for every video and update from our channel. Aiden, today we have a very special College National Championship preview edition of Sports Nowadays. Aiden, if you haven't heard the news, if you have been sitting under a rock and haven't heard the news, we just saw a couple of days ago Ohio State pretty much dominate Clemson. They dominated Trevor Lawrence, I believe the number one overall pick lock in this upcoming year's draft. And of course, don't forget the number one ranked team of the nation, Alabama, pretty much destroyed Notre Dame in I could say boring game last Saturday. Now today, me and Aiden are going to be choosing our picks for the national championship game coming up on January 11th, and we're going to do some deep analysis here. We're going to be digging into all of the big news, the injury concerns for Justin Fields, where our picks are, the rankings on the defensive side of the ball and offensive side of the ball. Who are we going to pick? Aiden, who are you picking? Are you picking Nick Saban, Devontae Smith, and Mac Jones, and the Alabama Crimson Tide? Or are you picking Justin Fields, Trey Sermon, and the Ohio State Buckeyes?
Listen, there's too many variables going on with Ohio State for me to pick them. I'm of course picking Alabama. Some people might be surprised about that. Some people might call me an Alabama hater. I like Alabama. I just have a opinion on Mac Jones, which I'm not going to get into right now. But I still pick Alabama to win this game. There are too many concerns I have with Ohio State. Is Justin Fields going to be 100%? And even if Justin Fields is above maybe 70%, he's probably not going to have his best offensive lineman in Wyatt Davis. Wyatt Davis is the best offensive guard in this NFL draft. He is a first-round lock. He is what many peg to be a great prospect at the guard position, even though the interior offensive line is an undervalued position. People still have him highly resonated. Obviously, he left the Clemson game with a suspected to be leg injury of some sorts. I don't have these access, but it's a leg injury of some sorts. So even if Justin Fields is in good health in that game, he's not going to be running a whole lot because he's still not going to be 100% because the turnover is too quickly, right? And then you have that Alabama defense. That defense, if you change the tempo on them and if you keep the offense fast pace, throw them off guard, you might have a chance, but there is no way that without that protection, that Justin Fields is going to be able to move around the pocket like he's used to moving around the pocket. He's going to have guys like Christian Barmore coming up from the interior and hitting him in his face. He's going to have Dylan Moses lurking in the backfield, shutting down Trey Sermon. He's going to have Patrick Surtain getting that Chris Olave. It's going to be, it's not going to be good for a quarterback who's not yet at 100%. Then we look at the offense. The Ohio State defense is amazing, but I don't think they can contend with this offense. This offense has 3 top 5 finishers for the Heisman. Najee Harris, the consensus number 1 running back in this class. Devontae Smith, one of the best receivers in the class, even though I believe he is the Heisman Trophy winner. I still don't side with him as the best receiver in this class for some reason that I'm going to get into in our draft episode later on in the year. And Mac Jones, who is going to be a first-rounder despite what I say about him, despite what I think about him. I pick the Alabama Crimson Tide to win this game.
Aiden, I profoundly disagree. I am rolling with the Ohio State Buckeyes, and I know this may come as a surprise after what I've said, the kind words I've said about Mac Jones, where he should be drafted and other things of that sort in our past couple of episodes when we talked about college football. And the reason why I'm going with the Ohio State Buckeyes is because of their performance against Clemson, a very good team. And you look at how that Buckeyes defense pretty much neutralized Trevor Lawrence, where he had absolutely no time in the pocket, couldn't get the ball to his best receivers, or in Travis Etienne, I believe only ran for 44 yards. Man, they contain him, even though Travis Etienne is having sort of a down year compared to some of his other years.
He's still the all-time ACC leader in rushing yards. Just to put that in context for people at home.
Right, but I do believe that the way the Buckeyes neutralized Travis Etienne, I do believe that that type of stoppage on the run defense will translate into the national championship game against Alabama. And you look at Devontae Smith, who I will rank the second best wide receiver in this draft behind you.
Me and Darius both have interesting opinions on the wide receiver rankings that we're going to express in our draft video later on in the year.
Right, but I think that the way the corners were, I've said, who's that Wade? I forgot his first name. I think that slipped away from
Shaun Wade.
Shaun Wade, the way he performed against Clemson. If he plays the same way against Devontae Smith is going to have some trouble getting past him. And I know you think Shaun Wade. We discussed this before we started recording. I know you think Shaun Wade is slightly overrated, but the way I saw him,
he was okay. Let me explain my reasoning first. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but I have to explain my reasoning first. Shaun Wade was the slot receiver on a defense that consisted of Jeff Okudah and Damien Arnett last year. Those two were first-round corners. You had Jeff Okudah on the right side, and you had Damien Arnett on the left side. You had Shaun Wade in the slot. Shaun Wade was pegged as a shutdown corner because you don't get as many looks in the slot. Now he's playing on the outside. Some people say he got exposed. I just think that they got shown what he really is. He's not a man corner. He's a zone corner. And I think that we saw that especially when we got to take a look at what really consists of this Ohio State defense once they lost some guys. Let's not forget, Chase Young was an extremely good player and was the ultimate distraction on the defense. The ultimate distraction. Offense had to put so much attention into stopping Chase Young to whether they looked past guys of that nature. And Shaun Wade did shut down Amari Rodgers. You're right, Darius. But Amari Rodgers is not Devontae Smith. And I beg to differ that Ohio State has another top flight corner like a Shaun Wade that could lock up a John Mechie. John Mechie is a phenomenal wide receiver of the Alabama Crimson Tide, who I don't believe gets enough attention when you see all the first-round wide receivers that come out of Alabama. I think his name will be mentioned in the future.
Now, let me make my argument here. Now, even though I believe Ohio State got 2 sacks against Trevor Lawrence in last week's game, I do believe that they would find a way to pretty much get Mac Jones compressed to the pocket, and I do believe that they could find a way to neutralize Najee Harris. And you did mention those other wide receivers for Alabama, but Mac Jones, we all know that Devontae Smith is his number 1 target, and if Ohio State does put Shaun Wade on Devontae Smith, I do believe Devontae Smith is not going to have that possible Heisman Trophy winning performance against a great lockdown corner in Shaun Wade. Now, I do believe that for Ohio State, I do believe it's going to be really, really hard for them to keep the same intensity and energy throughout this week and in that game where you're facing just such a great-minded coach, Nick Saban, and some terrific weapons. Both teams look very, very good on paper, but I do give the edge to Ohio State. Now to the point of Justin Fields with his injury. Now, from what I saw, it really wasn't a bad injury, but I could tell that it did linger on Justin Fields throughout that game, but he was able to still put points on the board and perform to his level, right? And when you look at that injury, it was like I would call it an old shot. took to like the midsection of the ribs.
He led with the crown of his helmet and speared him in the ribs.
But I do believe that Justin Fields will be able to play through it, and I believe that in these upcoming days, in these upcoming weeks, I do believe that Justin Fields is going to be fine. Now, when you look at the performance against Notre Dame with Alabama, of course they're going to win that game. That was 100%. Now, you look at the coaching sides. You have Nick Saban and you have Ryan Day. For Ryan Day, you changed the tempo against this star-studded Alabama defense the same way you did against the star-studded Clemson defense. You saw the way Ryan Day changed up the tempo, and the offensive coordinator for Ohio State changed the tempo due to Justin Fields' injury, where they probably took some plays slow and they did hurry up offenses, and they gave the ball to Trey Sermon. They spread the offense up, and I do believe that if Justin Fields' injury does linger on in these upcoming days, I do believe that they have a capable running back, a phenomenal running back. I believe that may have an argument that is better than Najee Harris's for the best running back in college football in Trey Sermon. We have seen some of his best performances this season. Most importantly, that performance earlier in the season against Indiana, where I believe he rushed for 338 yards. Now, if Trey Sermon puts up that type of performance against that Alabama defense, the Ohio State Buckeyes will have a phenomenal game on offense. Now, both teams are ranked in the lower part of rankings on the defense side of the ball. Alabama is ranked 32nd, and Ohio State is ranked 41st. And I believe both teams allow over 300 or 323.5 yards per game. And, of course, I don't believe that this is going to be a low-scoring game. This game may even exceed past the 50-point margin. But I do believe that I would give Ohio State the advantage just because of their performance against Clemson, and I believe the mindset is going into this game. This is not bias from 2015 when Ohio State defeated Alabama National Championship game back then. But right now, on paper, the way I'm seeing it, I believe that the Ohio State Buckeyes will be the college football national championship champs this season. Do you have an argument for that, Mr. Munson? Do you have an argument for that, man? I know you have Devontae Smith, Mac Jones, and Najee, but
okay,
you have a very good team there. But I don't.
Trey Sermon is a phenomenal running back. He's not going to get drafted as highly as, per se, Najee or Chuba or Travis or those top guys in this class. He's great, but I have to argue. Excuse me. Although Trey Sermon has more rushing yards in a bowl game than Eddie George and your Ezekiel Elliott, the man was, how do I say this? He's 5 yards in a cloud of dust, to put it bluntly. And I think a linebacker core like the Alabama Crimson Tide has faced enough of those guys to where they know what they're dealing with. Obviously, they shut down Texas A&M's phenomenal running back, C.J. Spiller, who just carried his team to a bowl win versus the University of North Carolina. He was a phenomenal running back, but I feel like he's a 5 yards in the cloud of dust. And once he breaks those first couple tackles and he's in open space, he's a touchdown. But once he has to go between the tackles and it's gritty and it's got guys hanging all over him and he's getting dragged down and he doesn't, again, I'm going to stress that we don't know if Wyatt Davis, the best offensive lineman for the Ohio State Buckeyes, will be ready for that game. We, again, don't know how this running attack will fare against them. I strongly believe that this defense, that Ohio State has met its match with this type of defense, and that if Ohio State had everybody healthy, we would be having a completely different conversation here. We'd have a completely different conversation here. If Justin Fields hadn't gotten hurt in that game, and we might be experiencing some sort of concerns. If Wyatt Davis was going to play in this game and was completely healthy, we wouldn't have any sort of problem I wouldn't have any sort of problem maybe saying Ohio State had a good chance. And I'm not saying they have no chance in of winning this game. They still have a chance. I just can't side with Ohio State when I'm looking at all the intangibles.
Now, Aiden, look, I do believe that there are challenges for both teams. First off, here's the challenge for Ohio State. The challenge is that to win this game, I do believe that you have to outscore Alabama. That's the only way that you can win. The only way that I believe the Buckeyes can win this game if they outscore Mac Jones and DeVonta Smith. That's the only way. Now, here's the challenge for Alabama. I don't think Alabama has faced a team this season of Ohio State's caliber. Even though they did face let me finish here. Even though they did face Notre Dame and some other challenging teams in the regular
season. They faced Notre Dame, they faced Texas A&M, they faced Florida, they faced many top 10 teams in the nation.
I know.
They faced Georgia.
I know. Let me finish here. Let me finish my point. The way Ohio State is looking, and even though they did only play a limited amount of games in the regular season, everybody was talking in the regular season how it would be an Alabama versus Clemson national championship game. And right now, Ohio State just beat Clemson, and the best quarterback in college football, probably a quarterback who has been compared to the likings of Peyton Manning, the likings of Tom Brady, the likings of Joe Montana. That quarterback. The Ohio State Buckeyes just defeated him, and now they're facing Alabama. Now, I did state before that Alabama has to score Mac Jones and DeVonta Smith, which I do believe will be a tough task, but it is possible. But I do believe, at the end of the day, I do believe that the Ohio State Buckeyes will win this game based on, one, the performance of Justin Fields and the health, the availability, durability of Justin Fields, and two, the performance of Trey Sermon because of his remarkable job running the ball this season. Aiden, do you have any final words?
It's going to be a heck of a game, and I am so excited to watch this.
It's going to be a phenomenal game, man. Don't forget, Alabama versus the Ohio State Buckeyes, January 11th on ESPN. We're about to close the show, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this national championship college football edition of Sports Nowadays. Aiden, if you haven't already, make sure to like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, make sure to comment down below, and make sure that bell for post notifications for every video and update from our channel. Until then, everybody, we will see you tomorrow. I'm Darius Thomas. Until then, everybody, peace and love.